Закончу.
Ever wondered what turns a bunch of clips into a cohesive film that pulls people in? Today I'm going to share my exact process of post-production for my film All In. Also sharing how I managed to get free sound editing and audio mixing, including sound design. So here's your roadmap. Number 1, story edit. Number 2, create a cohesive world. Number 3, film score. Number 4, sound design. And number 5, visual effects and titles. So let's get into it. First up is story edit. Once you step away from set, you just have a pile of files, basically. How do you turn this into a cohesive film? Number 1 is come back to your story. You just have to find your story in the timeline. So it's basically an interpretation of story again. So leaving out everything that is not serving the story, that is losing momentum, you just leave that out. And it's perfectly normal for your rough cut to be a few minutes longer than your final cut. Once you have picture lock, then you look towards the sound design and the film score and everything, audio and also visual effects. First, we have to have a cohesive world. What do I mean by that? It's all about the visual world. So it's still, the directing is still, also in post-production, you as a director still have a job to do. It's not just, okay, I want to leave this scene in, I want to toss that scene. That's of course part of it. But everything that ties into your film should come out as a cohesive film. I know I'm saying that word a lot, but for lots of other words. So it should all tie into the same message, into the same intention. So for your audience, they're just lost in the film. That's your ideal outcome. And how can you achieve that? By having conflict in every scene, by having only scenes that drive character or story or both forward, or establish something that we don't know yet, by having a set of decisions that you've already made that all tie into the same end result. And also, of course, the weather, like everything should tie into one cohesive film. So where are we? The location we've got. What is the character wearing? What are they doing? What's happening on screen? What are the colors like? Not just me wearing something, like for instance, I'm wearing something vibrant, which is just also part of my personality. I don't like black that much. Maybe you might have noticed. And I like this terracotta wall because I figured it's the closest thing I can come to my red brick wall that I have at home. So, I'm also trying to set the scene a little bit as much as I am able with the circumstances I have. And in the film, the color grading also ties into that. And of course, with the finished look of the film, you should already have thought about it with your DOP. Are we going for a green mood like the Harry Potter films and the Lord of the Rings films, for instance? Also, genre plays a role here. Like if we're going for a horror film, we're not going to have the brightest colors. It's not really fitting. And when I was doing wedding videos, you have high key, so it's very bright and positive and light. So for instance, if we want to have a greenish hue and mood, it's kind of, maybe you wouldn't shoot in the desert because there's not a lot of green there. I don't know, it's maybe a bad example, but if you filmed in the Scottish Highlands, there won't be a problem with having not enough green in the frame. Film music and the audio in general is so pivotal in creating emotion and leading the audience. For me, I'm a very musical person and music to me is essential. And I always contribute some part of the soundtrack to my own films, and with All In, there was no exception. The most emotional scene that we have, it's quite early in the film, is the one that I composed the theme to with my mother. So the piano is her and the violin is me. and then my composer just arranged it differently, but the melody is the one that we composed. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to inspire. So you also take this off a pedestal. Like with so many things in life that we've never done before, we think it's impossible. But let me tell you, if you just start to experiment, there are simple tools that you can use that make it simpler for you. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's easier than it used to be. We really have no excuses left for us making anything creative. You can just take your phone or your laptop and go. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm improvising. There might be people crossing frame any second. There are people watching me from afar a little bit, but I won't let it bother me. So film score for me, it has the task of leading people. And in All In this specific scene that I mentioned, I actually told the composer, I want every tough guy to actually shed a tear as well. So it really has to be rocking you to your core. And if you want to know if I achieved that, you can watch the whole film. It's linked down below. So in general, how you go about the scoring part is, of course, you work with a composer or you do it yourself, and you just have to think about story again, and where in the story, in which scene do you need the support of music to help guide the audience to underline a certain emotion, to maybe also salvage something that you're not happy with. We've all been there. To guide, there's about to be danger here. You can use score for that, or also sound design. So the composer has a spotting list. They know which scenes they're supposed to write music for, and you also have to tell them what emotion you're going for in that scene. And you can also have a talk about instruments. With All In, we did have one character that has a signature instrument, and it's the old lady that observes the three players. And I had to have this there because I did not want the audience missing that she's taking this role of observer and keeping a close eye on those three protagonists. And because she's only shown for a few seconds each time, I wanted to have the signature instrument there, so people also subconsciously are aware, okay, this instrument is here right now. Now it's not here anymore. The brain connects so many dots that we're not even aware of. So that's where that helps too. So I promised the story about sound design next. So with sound design, this is all the layers of sound. It starts with, of course, the dialogue, everything that was recorded on set. And then we've got the Foley, so everything that you see or that needs a sound in the scene, or also, something that happens off camera that you need to let the audience know. That's where sound is very, very vital. For instance, we have someone sitting here like me, and you hear footsteps approaching. That would be a way of people being alert, like, okay, who's coming? I cannot see anyone, I can only hear them. That does something to the audience. So you've got all these different sound elements. And then we've got, as I said, Foleys that are being recorded later. For me, that was like unlocking of a phone, like some simple things that you don't even think of, but you still need the sound. I had the rough cut for All In, and we were just in post-production. And I stumbled upon this job in a big sound studio in Zurich, and I applied for a job there, basically. And we talked for like an hour in my job interview. And I had a really great time, obviously. So I told her about my film, All In, and she was very interested and intrigued. Time went by. I did not get the job, but when she called me to turn me down, she said, send over your concept for your film and maybe come in and show it to us. And that's what I did. And then she was just like, well, we can give you 2 days in the studio for free. And I'm like, okay, thank you very much. Of course, that will not happen to everyone. But the lesson here is just be open for possibilities. Be open when you talk to people. You never know what things might lead to. And of course, knowing a lot of people is essential. If you don't happen to be that lucky, maybe your composer also does some sound mixing. There's always a way. And from our bachelor film, the sound recordist also did the sound mix. What do you think is possible? And do you have this exact idea of how everything is supposed to turn out? The last one, visual effects and title, you have to have picture lock, and you also need to have everything done before you do the sound mix, the final sound mix. Why? Because you also have to mix in the score. And like if you need a sound for the text to appear, of course the text need to be there. Otherwise the sound mixer doesn't know when this sound should appear, you know? So that's a very important lesson in terms of workflow. So you have to have the titles, everything done before you do the final sound mix. And that's something that almost broke my neck because, yeah, we were given this time slot in the studio. Of course, she decided when she had someone available. And then my editor was not as quick as I want him to be. And he also didn't prioritize the project because it was not paid. There are people out there that are that way. Just deal with it. And we almost did not deliver the footage on time to the studio, which of course sucks and is embarrassing. So that's something for you to look out for. If you're producing as well as directing, you're in charge of all that workflow stuff as well. So what belongs in the end credits? Everyone that was involved in making the film. So everyone behind the camera and everyone in front of the camera. So that includes cast, crew, extras, and also everyone that gave some contribution to the film that you want to mention in thanks. If you had sponsors, you have to have an agreement. And then once you're all done with the titles, with the visual effects, with the color grading and the sound mix and the score, then you can export your film and show it to your audience. Watch the whole film all in. It's linked below if you're curious now what that looks like. And if you want to know more about how to prepare for set, watch this video next that pops up on the screen right now. I'm Oriana, a Swiss filmmaker, writer, director, producer. Thank you for being here. And if you stayed this long, leave this secret emoji down in the comments and introduce yourselves if you are new here. Thank you for watching. Until the next one. Bye.